Hello, my name is Stephen Boggs, and I will be doing a museum oral presentation. The museum I selected to visit was the Knoxville Museum of Art. This museum's layout is a generally small museum, but it is very well organized. It has three main levels, and each level contains a different category of art. Some notable artworks that I found along the way was Gilbert Gall's Those Dreary Days. It was created in circa 1890. It is an oil on canvas painting, and it is located in the Knoxville Museum of Art. The second one I found was Hugh Tyler's Mediterranean Coves. It was created in 1914. It is an oil on canvas, and it is located in Knoxville Museum of Art. And the third one that I found was Lloyd Branson. It's Hauling Marble. It was created in 1910, is in an oil on canvas, and it was located in Knoxville Museum of Art. The background information that I found on the painting I selected was its genre was a portrait and landscape, and it was created in the 19th century, and it is based on landscape. James Cameron's main genre was portraits and landscapes. He painted during the 19th century, which was from 1800 to 1899. And the painting I selected was based on landscapes. His main audience was to the common people. He tried to express his views and love for his country and his home to the common people and resonate with them. His main categories of painting is he mostly used oil paint, and he used brushes and canvases to paint his artworks. The artist's information for James Cameron was he was born in 1816 in Greenock, Scotland, and he died on 1882 in Oakland, California. James Cameron's educational information that I found was he attended the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. His employment records show that he was employed by Colonel James Anderson Whiteside. The socioeconomic conditions of the 19th century were very long hours, hard work during the day, and there were very low wages at this time. The poor living conditions in crowded cities, there was a lot of people in very small spaces to live, and a lot of women and children were working very hard during this time. The political conditions of the 19th century was there was a big rise of nationalism and revolution, the industrialization and social change, and there was a lot of colonial expansion and exoticism. The religious conditions of the 19th century were the decline of institutional religion and the rise of secularism. The religious revivalism and symbolism, religious critique, and existential themes. James Cameron's unique contributions to the art world were he painted portraits and landscapes of the places that he was located at. He had a romantic landscape paintings. He was very intrigued and involved in what he was painting. He had historical and nationalistic themes. He layered oil paintings, attention to light and atmosphere, his detailed brushwork for natural elements, his dynamic composition and perspective, and his use of earthly and muted color palettes. He put a different aspect and viewpoint on his paintings, and he made them pretty much like a picture. It was very close and very detailed to what he was painting, and it was very beautiful, and the light on his painting showed the beautiful scene of what he was painting. James Cameron's other significant artworks are Colonel and Mrs. James A. Whiteside, son of Charles and servants, circa 1858 to 1859, is located in the Hunter Museum of American Art. The second one is a parley prepared for emergency, toned lithograph with applied watercolor, was created in circa 1866, is located in the Amon Carter Museum of American Art in Fort Worth, Texas. And lastly, the Battle of Cerro Gordo, April 18th, 1847, is a lithograph applied with watercolor, is located in Amon Carter Museum of American Art in Fort Worth, Texas. The description of subjects of the painting that I have selected, Belle Isles from Lion's View, is it is a very detailed landscape focus. It is a depiction of Belle's Isle, and the atmospheric effects on this painting were very unique, and it put a human's perspective on the view site of Belle's Isle. The description of the lines on this painting are the curvilinear forms. The horizontal emphasis. This is a very horizontal painting, and the diagonal lines for depth. The diagonal lines he used for the depth were very on point, and it shows the depth of the water and the trees very beautifully. The delicate outlines and contours and the implied lines. The lines on this painting are very distinct and detailed, and they show the painting very well and depict it very beautifully. The description of color of this painting are the earthly and natural tones. The trees and the mountains and the waters are all very detailed and very depicted. And then secondly, the subtle variations in green. Various shades of the green will dominate the foreground, representing the lush vegetation and trees, while warm browns and suggest the land and earthly textures. These colors blend together to create a sense of unity in the natural environment. And then he used warm highlights. It has an orange tint in this painting, creating a warm atmosphere of the sun setting and producing a warm orange light across the view. The cool blues and grays of the waters and the sky are painted in soft blues and grays, which convey a sense of depth and distance. The blues of the waters are cooler, with subtle reflections of the sky, while the gray tones in the skies suggest an atmospheric quality and help balance the warm colors of the land. And lastly, the harmonious blending. The blending of all of these colors, the grays, the greens, the blues, and the oranges, all come together and create a very beautiful piece of artwork. The description of the texture of this painting is the natural elements of this painting are very distinct and very forthwith. They show all of the trees, the mountains, the sky, the clouds, the water, all of it comes together, and it is very well painted and detailed. And secondly, the layering for depth on this painting is from three different categories, really. It's the sky, and then the landscape, and then the waters. Each depth shows a very distinct, very well organized and painted, and shows very distinct lines. It just gives you a very good look at the depths of each piece. And then thirdly, the water reflection. The water's surface has a soft, reflective texture that mimics the gentle ripple of the river. Light plays off the water in a way that suggests smoothness, while also capturing the reflective, fluid nature of the water itself. And then lastly, the sky and clouds. The texture in the sky is soft and atmospheric, while the artist blends colors seemingly to create a sense of depth and light. The soft blend gives the sky an almost ethereal mist quality that adds to the sense of tranquility in the scene. And then the description of space. Firstly, the foreground, middle ground, and background. The composition is structured with a distinct spatial divisions in the foreground. There is a detailed rendering of trees, bushes, and the riverbank. The middle ground features the river and Bell's Isle in the distance. The background is dominated by the sky expansion, which blends seamlessly to the distance landscape, further emphasizing the scale of the scene. And then the linear perspective, which I have already stated a lot in this presentation, is the depth that was shown. It is very distinct, shows 3 different levels, and you can tell the depth of the water off of the trees, and then the landscape off of the mountains, and then the mountains off of the sky. It's very distinct, detailed layering. And thirdly, the atmospheric perspective. The use of light and color helps to establish the atmospheric space, particularly in the way the distant hills, rivers, and sky fade into softer, cooler tones. This creates a sense of distance and adds to the painting's realism, allowing the viewer to feel the physical and emotional expanse of the landscape. And then the open composition. The space in the painting is balanced with the various elements of the landscape interacting harmoniously. The positioning of trees and landforms creates a sense of flow, movement through the space, guiding the viewer's eyes from the foreground toward the distant horizontal. The expansion in space contributes to a calm, serene feeling with no elements crowding the composition. And lastly, he used negative space. The trees, and mostly the trees around the Belle Isle, is characterized as negative space as the main subject, with filled in details around the main subject. And lastly, the description of form. James Cameron uses a 3-dimensional illusion in this painting, and he uses naturalistic forms. The forms in the painting are naturalistic, with realistic depictions of the trees or rivers in the distant island. The artist carefully observes the shapes and proportions of natural elements, creating forms that mimic the organic curves and structures found in the landscape. And then he models with light and shadow. He uses a very well sense of light, gives an orange color as though the sun is setting in the background, and the shadows he uses on the river from the trees is very distinct and detailed. And then he layers forms of depths. He has several layers of depths, and it is very well organized. And then lastly, the fluid forms of water and sky. The waters or the river reflects off the sky, giving it a gray tint and blue tint with the clouds in the background. This painting attracted me because of the mountains, and it reminds me of where I live in East Tennessee. I have a lot of mountains around me. I'm pretty close to the Smoky Mountains, so it just gave me a sense of home, and it was dear to my heart. This was inspiring to me because it was a very beautiful piece of painting. This painting is very beautiful. He depicted it very well. It was very detailed, and it gives a sense of peacefulness. As the sun sets in the background, it gives a sense of calmness and a very beautiful picture. And then this painting was meaningful to me because it was a connection to home. It is located close to East Tennessee, where I live, and the mountains in the background reminded me of home because I can see mountains from my front porch, the Smoky Mountains to be exact. It was just a very close to home painting to me. And then this painting was very interesting to me. Just the way he painted it, the sunset in the background made it a very beautiful piece of artwork, and it was very calming. The way the sunset in the background just gave off a calming, peaceful view of the painting. then my final judgments of this painting. This painting was very well painted, um, and it was very detailed. He spent a lot of time on this. You can tell it is a very old painting, um, so that just gives another shout out to James Cameron for painting this very well, because it was back then. You didn't have a lot of technology or experience, and it was pretty much just a brush and paint that he used, and it's very, very well beautiful and detailed. And then I had two references for this um, presentation. It's the cartermuseum.org and the civilwarshades.org.